Good evening! How are you guys? Oh my god, we have got a very special guest tonight. I don't know what's going on here, but I woke up like this. Sorry, ignore her. I don't know why she's here. Guys, I'm going to be answering some questions tonight. Hopefully one of your questions. Hey! So if you've got more questions, just let me know in here. Hello. First question is actually your question, Diogo. I'm so glad you're here because, I'm answering your question. You asked me about not being able to speak as well as you do everything else. So you can read really well, you can, your listening is very good, you can write very well, but when you have to speak English, it's a huge problem. I know this happens, this is, normal. The reason why that happens, I'm gonna talk about the reason why that happens and then something you can do to hopefully make that a bit better. So, the reason why it happens, vocabulary is number one reason. You're starting to speak and you've got this sentence ready in your head, right? So you start talking and the sentence is okay, but then you don't know how to say, for instance, this. You don't know how to say this in English, right? And then you're like, then you can't talk. So vocabulary is the main thing. This, in England, we call it a rubber. It's an eraser actually, but we call it rubber. It's one of the first words I learned at school when I was in England. And I'm not going to tell you that story because that's just embarrassing, isn't it? But yeah, so when you don't know the words, you've got your structure kind of okay because you read a lot or because you listen to a lot of English, but then you come across a word that you don't know and you stop talking. And that's how you feel that you are hesitating to speak. You got this terrible hesitation. This is the thing, okay? Vocabulary, main thing. But then we move on to translating in your head. Oh man, I know, it's so annoying because I remember when I was learning and I started talking, I would say things that were more basic to me, that I knew more, and then suddenly I would start translating, like I wanted to say something specific, so that sentence would come to me in Portuguese, and then I wanted to turn that into English, and that was never possible. I could never do that, and then I felt that I was hesitating to speak because I couldn't do the translation, right? It is, I know, I've been there, guys, when I give you advice, most of it is from my own experience. It's from what happened to me. It's not even what happens to my students or what I've been seeing for the last 11 years as a teacher. Is really most of it like my own stuff because I experienced it to the core. Learning English for me was something that I went like head on. It was something that consumed a lot of me. So I know how you feel when I say that. It's bare truth, basically. Hi. So yeah, acknowledging that is very important. I think this is a new verb, isn't it? And it's a huge word, like it's got 12 letters or something. I don't know how many letters, that was just a guess. But it's a very long word, acknowledge. And it's funny because it's actually A-C-K, but you don't say, you're not supposed to make it super strong. So your pronunciation tip, everyone, you're not supposed to say acknowledge, no way. It's more like a G sound, so it's like acknowledge. Very important tip, this one. So to acknowledge something is to say, okay, this is what is happening. I am aware of this now. What can I do to change it? So you acknowledge the problem. So you acknowledge that vocabulary is a problem that stops you from speaking well, and that translating in your head is another problem that stops you from speaking well. Having acknowledged that, you can then move on to hopefully finding a solution for that problem. What is the solution? Number one, you're gonna hate me now, more listening. Everyone's like, Patricia, shut up about the listening. I can't, because I honestly believe that's the number one thing that's gonna bring you results. There's actually two things that I think combined work really well, right? Listening combined with writing stuff down. When I say writing stuff down, I mean a lot of copying, because then the words start to somehow, they become more natural to you. And you don't have to think about them. Like, you know that this is how a sentence goes because you have looked at it so much. Something you can do as well that is important is using your phone, record yourself speaking to the phone, like a voice message to yourself, that you can do on your phone, and then keep listening back to yourself. Two reasons for that. Remember I told you that one of the problems everybody has, this is like general, is that you are not used to listening to yourself. So when you have to speak English, you don't know who that person is. You don't know that that is you, because the voice is different. Like, my voice is so different. Is your voice different when you speak Portuguese or whatever your first language is, and then you speak English? Is it different? Because it's so different. Like, my voice, I actually feel like I am two separate people. I don't know. Do you feel that when you talk in English and you talk in your first language, whatever that is? Yeah, but so you have to get used to yourself. So record yourself and then keep listening to yourself over and over again, which is so good. Yes, using books that you like, important. What you just said, Rachel, is so important. Reading stuff that you like. You have to read things that you like, man. You can't just read stuff just because I have to practice my reading. What is that about? Like, if you don't like fiction, don't read fiction. If you like the news, read the news. Read what you like. Yes. Now, what can you do to improve this hesitation problem? Yes. No, Diogo, you're saying your voice is horrible when you record yourself in Portuguese, let alone in English. Now, no, you can't do this to yourself. That's not fair. It's not that your voice is horrible, it's that you're not used to it. To get used to something is like to become accustomed to something. So nowadays that I have been recording myself for 5 years, I don't enjoy listening to myself, but I'm used to it. It's like, okay, that's my voice, whatever. So you just need to get used to your voice. So don't say your voice is horrible. You're just not used to it. So you got to do it more until it's not cringe. Do you remember, guys, you guys that are part of the Telegram group, if you're not, you should be, because you've got daily content on Telegram. Pay attention to this. Daily content, free content, short content, so it's not gonna take a lot of your time, plus exclusive content. So whatever is on Telegram is on Telegram. So when you listen to your voice and it's something that you don't do a lot, it's a bit cringe, isn't it? It's a bit like, what is that? So cringe is a word from Telegram. That's why you should be in the group. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, what can you do to improve that? Listen to yourself. So record yourself. Record yourself as much as you can. Listen back to yourself, okay? That's what you need to do right now at this stage, and listen to English more and more, because the more you listen, the more automatic things become. And that's what you want to stop the hesitation from happening. Now, Pachi asked me a question about studying, people that study alone, like, self-study, which is something hard to do. She said she was very concerned, very worried about how people that study by themselves can develop speaking as well as work on their pronunciation. So pronunciation is listening. Pronunciation is listening to stuff and repeating, because you're not going to know how to pronounce a word by reading a book. Like, if you want to work on your pronunciation, reading something is the worst thing you can do, because you're going to see a word, just like I said today about acknowledge, you're going to see that word and you're going to read acknowledge, probably. So no, reading is not a good idea for pronunciation. Pronunciation is listening and repeating. A very good way to improve your pronunciation, just for words, not sentences, is the Cambridge Dictionary, because then you've got the British option as well as American option. Listen to the word and repeat the word many times until you feel that it's close to the original one. You're not going to think it's the same, because it takes time for you to feel like, okay, like this sounds good. And sometimes, do you know what? Sometimes there are words that I try to pronounce like perfectly and I can't do it either. So it's all right, isn't it? Come on. Don't be so hard on yourself. Now, about speaking. How can you develop your speaking by yourself? I was thinking about this and I have an idea for you. How about you guys try something this week and then you report back to me, which means you send me a message and you let me know if you think that was good for you or not. You should be watching interviews, okay? Interviews in English. How can I find interviews? Don't ask me that question, please. But anyway, if you did in your head, here is the answer. YouTube. Think of somebody you like, okay? So for instance, you really like, who? Lady Gaga. I always give Lady Gaga as an example. I don't know why I do that. But anyway, you love Lady Gaga, so you Google, go on YouTube, Lady Gaga interview. It's as simple as that. That's how you find interviews, okay? So you find an interview with Lady Gaga, you play it, pay attention to this so you can practice your speaking alone. Okay, pay attention. You play the interview. There are two people, right? There is a person interviewing and there is a person being interviewed, who's Lady Gaga in this case. When the person asks the question, you listen to the beginning of the answer from the person being interviewed, from Lady Gaga, for example. So, supposedly the question is, so how was it like winning an Oscar? Maybe that's the question. And so the beginning of her answer could be something like, well, actually, pause. That's the beginning of the answer. Well, actually. So you're going to give your own answer to that. So you copy the beginning of what they say, and you give your own answer, because then you're practicing developing your ideas, which you have to do. You can't get away from that. Otherwise, you just become some sort of robot or something. And then you keep listening, and then you find the middle of the answer. This is so important. You find the middle of the answer, and you realize that she does something like this. I'm not sure. Pause. So, I'm not sure. We do this when we're talking naturally, don't we? So you continue with your own answer. Of course, you never won an Oscar, so that was a crazy question, but you adapt questions to something that are a little bit closer to your life. So how was it like traveling to London? That's something more realistic than Oscar. And then you copy the middle of that answer from the interview and you make up your own answer. But then you are starting to, you see what's happening here? You're starting to understand the beginning of an answer, the middle of an answer, and then the end of an answer. So you fast forward to the end when she goes, I guess that's it. You know? And then you end your answer with, I guess that's it. You see what's happening here? Like, a lot of learning English really, really well comes from being an amazing listener. Because when you really listen, then you know how to do the same thing. If you're not really listening, you're just gonna make everything up. And it's probably gonna be shit, isn't it? Because it's not your first language and you're learning. So it's better to listen carefully and copy what they're saying until it becomes natural to you, and then you can really just be yourself. But for you to find your voice, for you to find yourself in English, there needs to be some copying. It's just like a child. The child doesn't know who they are when they start speaking. They have no idea who they are. What happens is they are copying everything you say until one day they know the language so well that they just say their own thing. Right? It makes sense. I hope that was a good answer for you guys, and I hope you can practice that. And let me know, please let me know how it was for you, because that is something I used to do. Something similar I used to do when I was learning. Now, Laura, I don't know if you're here. Please say hello if you're here. But you asked me about the word saudade in English. You said that sometimes you find stuff where people say, yes, this word exists, and sometimes you find stuff saying that no, it doesn't exist. Now, I'm gonna give you my point of view. Yes, hi! I'm gonna give you my point of view about that, okay? When I was learning, I never realized, now this is quite interesting maybe, I never realized that this word didn't actually exist when I was learning to speak English. And this was a word that was very present in my life because I was a teenager, because I really missed my friends. Like, when I say I really miss my friends, I mean like I was crying myself to sleep, you know, like bad stuff. And because I really missed Brazil, I just missed my life, you know, like, so this was big for me, this whole saudade thing. But I was okay with saying I miss my friends. And I remember, and you're gonna be shocked at this, I don't think I have that dictionary anymore. I don't have that dictionary anymore. I thought I still had a copy, but I don't. But I had a paper dictionary. I had a paper dictionary that I brought to school every day, right? Portuguese, English, English, Portuguese. And I remember the day like so vividly in my head when I was crying, and one of the girls asked me why I was crying. And I remember looking up the word saudade in the dictionary and then saying to my friend, saying to this girl, like showing it to her, and there were words like longing, miss, there was just the verb to miss there, and I said miss. And I remember she was trying to understand, and then she guessed. She said like, oh, you miss your friends. And I remember this, and I learned it in that exact moment. I was just like, okay, when I feel this, I would just say, I miss my friends. So do you see what's happening? The way I learned English was a very natural way. Like, I was never really questioning things like, is this really saudade? I was never questioning. I was just like, okay, this is how you're supposed to say it. And so I was okay with just saying I really miss my friends. Or when my English became more advanced, then I would say something like, I miss my friends like crazy. You know, like that to me represented, tô morrendo de saudade dos meus amigos. You know? So that to me was obvious, and it was really good. I didn't need a translation for the word. So when you ask me a translation for that word, I think longing is close, but we don't use it the same way. So it's one of those things that if I could give you advice about this, I would say don't get attached to this. Just forget about it. Just understand that saudade, the way we use it in Portuguese. The representation of that in English would be more like, I am missing home like crazy. Or if you're, like, it depends on what you're saying. If you're traveling, like this happens to me all the time. I don't know if it happens to you, but when you're traveling and you really want to come home, you're like, I'm really homesick. Which would be like, tô morrendo de saudade da minha casa. You know? So it's not the word, it's the meaning behind it. So you've got to let go of this. One advice, let go of the translation. Understand that there is meaning behind stuff and that this meaning is probably what's going to help you move forward. I hope that helped you. Now, Marcos, are you here? Please say hi if you're here. I think you are. I think I saw you. I'm not sure. You asked me about the difference between 3 words that everyone is a bit unsure about. People are like, what are these words for? Hi, you're here. Brilliant. What are these words for? They're so similar. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? They're so similar. So the words are quick, fast, and speedy. Really though, when you asked me that question, I thought, what? And then I realized that I just had to think really hard about this one because I wanted to give you a simple explanation. And I think what I'm gonna do is give you the explanation that I got from nobody, that I just got from learning English. When I was in a battlefield, that's how I learned. Like, naturally, that's how I understood that they are different, okay? And I hope that from now on, you're gonna be able to use these words. And I think it should always be the ultimate goal, is for you to be able to use the words. You don't need to know every single rule. You just need to be able to use the word in 1 or 2 sentences. Because when you know how to use the word in 1 sentence, things get better with time, okay? Give yourself that time, come on. So quick. Quick is more like doing something in a short time. So, for example, this is how I learned quick, okay? I'm just gonna give you a quick explanation. Like, in a short time, I'm gonna give you a quick explanation. It's just really very much related to the time something lasts, okay? I saw her, but it was very quick. I just said hi to her and I left. It was very quick. You see how it's related to time? It's actually very simple. Now, fast is super connected to speed. So then you would say, that car is so fast. Now I'm gonna tell you a real sentence about myself. I walk very fast. I actually can't walk slowly. I just don't know. I walk very fast because this is related to speed, isn't it? It's related to really it's the speed of how you walk. You're not talking about time, you're talking about speed. So you see how they're different. Like, is this clear to you? Because this needs to be clear to you. This is the important thing, okay? Now, when you move on to speedy, are you ready for this? Fast and speedy are the same. Bang. And then you just gotta be clever here. Fast is connected to speed, isn't it? I just told you that. Now, speedy clearly comes from speed. So they are the same word. But of course, you're gonna use speedy in a slightly different way. I'm gonna tell you a sentence using speedy sentence using speedy that I like and that I use, which is exactly what I said in the beginning. You just need to know a sentence, and then things get better after that somehow, miraculously. Like they really do though. It just takes one, because then you open the door. You know a sentence, then like your barrier related to that word is lowered, is gone. And so you can learn more about that word without even thinking about it. It just happens. So, you know, when someone has had an operation, for example, like someone has had surgery. So, you know, like you had a health problem and you had surgery. Then I would say to you, oh, I wish you a speedy recovery. You see, like this is how I learned the word speedy, from this sentence, because that's how people use it a lot. They're like, oh, I wish you a speedy recovery. I hope you can have a speedy recovery at home. So it's like you can recover quickly in a short time and fast in terms of, you know, like speed. So then you say speedy recovery. Now, you're not really gonna use speedy as much as fast, because fast is just more generally something that we use when you talk about cars, when you talk about walking. We use fast. You know, like when you talk about fast food, why is it fast food? It's because you go there and it's like it's out, and you're like, you know, you eat very fast because you have to go to work. And you know, this is the idea, is that you don't have time to sit down and order and wait and then, you know, have the starter, a main course, the dessert. So, you know, whenever you want to know the meaning of a word, think about it in a bigger picture, you know, because there are answers, but you've got to somehow figure them out yourself, because that's how you learn better. I hope that was clear though. Please let me know if it was clear to you. Yeah, let me see if there was anything else I wanted to say tonight. I don't think so. I think, God, I've just been talking so much and my mouth is dry. So guys, did you like this live? Do you have any questions? Can I help you with anything else tonight? It's been a crazy week for me. Have you been busy this week? God, I was so busy this week, you know. And you know, like, because today is Friday, I can say I was busy because it kind of ended. Thank you. Oh, you guys are lovely. You got it. Yay. I'm so glad that you understood the difference between quick, fast and speedy. And remember, you're just gonna learn it when you listen to stuff and you pay attention and you're like, oh, that makes sense. All right. So, wish you guys a lovely weekend. Have a very nice week next week. Hope you're enjoying Telegram with crazy content every day. This week, a few days ago, I posted something about swear words. A swear word is a cursing word, like one of those bad words like shit and fuck. So I posted something about that just because it's important for your communication. If you don't like swearing, that's not a problem at all, of course, but you need to understand it, you need to know it, because it really is part of communication and people use it. And if you don't understand and you're watching a movie, really, you're missing out on a lot of things. So you got to know what they are, you know? So it's cool. It's a very cool content on there, and I think it's very, very different to what I'm doing on here, very different to YouTube. So hopefully it's giving you guys access to even more real English. Hope that's helping you a lot. And that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining me tonight. And thank you. And I'll see you guys next Friday at the same time for more stuff. I think I'm gonna have a real guest, not Acne, next Friday. So it's gonna be fun. I hope you can be here with me. And that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here tonight. See you later. Bye.